Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Intro to Social Work class. Today we have with us a guest speaker, Jolene Hui from the NASW, the National Association of Social Workers. So she's going to tell us a little bit about the association and also about some of the career opportunities and some tips for students who are considering a career in social work. Thank you so much for joining us today, Jolene.
Thank you, Professor, for having me. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen right now so I can give you some visual stimulation. All right, let me go back to the beginning here.
Okay.
Got to start us from the top. So thank you so much for having me. I wish I was seeing you all in person. Maybe I can visit you next year, next semester. But for now, I'm happy to be here virtually with all of you talking about the social work profession with you because I'm sure you are interested in sort of what social work is, what social workers do. This is an intro to social work class, I know. So yes, I am Jolene Hui. I am actually a licensed clinical social worker. I work for the National Association of Social Workers, the California chapter. So I'm based here in California, and I'm actually based in Long Beach, even though our association is based in Sacramento. So yes, I'm a big fan of LBCC myself. I'm the
Yay.
director of so I'm the director of membership. I handle all things membership, so recruitment, retention. I also do consultations for other clinicians if they have questions in their practice, ethical concerns, those kinds of things. And I also help with the licensing process. So I really do a lot of that clinical work, and I'll talk about that here in these slides. So, what is social work? So, social work is actually very old. Over 100 years old. We are the helpers, we are a helping profession. And our mission as social workers is to enhance human well being and help meet the basic needs of all people, with particular attention to the needs and empowerment of people who are vulnerable, oppressed, and living in poverty. A heavy mission for us all, but this is what we've done throughout the years and what we continue to do. And we focus on individual well-being in a social context and the well-being of society. So fundamental to social work is attention to the environmental forces that create, contribute to, and address problems in living. So for me, when I was considering what career to go into, what profession to go into, this is what actually drew me to social work. The fact that we as social workers look at an individual as part of a society, as part of a system. We're very into systems, how our society is built, how systems interact, those kinds of things. Not, we do not live in a vacuum. We are influenced on all different sides. So this is what drew me to the profession. So as I said, part of National Association of Social Workers, we were founded in 1955. We are the largest professional association of social workers. We have over 100,000 members nationwide. We have almost 9,000 members in California alone. So our chapter is the largest chapter. We have 55 chapters, very active. We actually drafted the Code of Ethics many, many years ago. And the Code of Ethics provides the guide to our profession. So the basis for these: service, social justice, dignity and worth of the person, importance of human relationships, integrity, and competence. So these are the code of ethics that we live by. It's a booklet. You will check it out if you go into a social work program. You will learn all about it. It is the most widely recognized ethical standards for social work practice. So even though, as I said, we are a membership association and we do have, over 100,000 members nationwide, we have many more social workers in this country. I think we have 75,000 maybe in the state of California alone, social workers.
Wow.
And even if you're not a member, you still adhere to this code of ethics. This is our guide. So you probably are wondering, what do social workers do? I didn't know what social workers did before I started looking into master's programs. Someone told me that I could be a mental health clinician, I could be a therapist as a social worker. I was like, oh, really? What do social workers do? So there are just so many things. Direct practice. So, like I said, psychotherapy, we can provide counseling with individuals, families, groups. We can also do case management. So social workers I mean, we specialize in case management and knowing resources for clients. I myself, like I said, I'm in LCSW. I have a private practice myself, and I practice psychotherapy, and I work mostly with moms and also LGBTQ plus population. So that's more of the what we call in social work micro, so direct practice, where you're working one-on-one, individuals, families, groups. We also do what's called meso and then macro work. So social workers work from the direct practice, like one-on-one, and then we can work on a broader level, like run for office. We can be writing policy. We can be, I don't know, serving on city council. I mean, we have social workers in Congress, Barbara Lee, Representative Barbara Lee, Karen Bass, they're social workers. So we can do this community organizing, activism. We're trained in communities. We're trained on all these different levels to help people. We can obviously be supervisors, do this clinical supervision, consult with other clinicians. We can work at administration. We can be executive directors of organizations because, like I said, we just have that training in all these different areas. Advocacy, social and political action, policy development and implementation. So we do have social workers working in different levels of public service. Education, we can be professors, we can also be school social workers. We have school social workers all over elementary school, middle school, high school, working with different kinds of populations. We just kind of work everywhere. We can also do research and evaluation. So, because we know our communities, because we know organizations, we're able to go in and help evaluate programs. We can do research. So basically, I'm just saying you can do sort of anything as a social worker.
You made me think of a question.
Yes,
And
please jump in.
then while I was thinking of the question, I realized I didn't tell you I was going to ask you this question. So I hope it's okay.
It's
But
fine.
I was wondering if you have any type of information or insight on this idea of defunding the police and sending more money into the social work, that there might be some extra jobs opening up because of it.
I'm not sure. I mean, that all happens on local levels typically.
Okay.
And so I know local municipalities, they have their own ways of funding their police force. So do you want to know what I think about it personally, or if I think that it's
No.
going to happen, or?
Oh, yeah, actually, I had heard that it already had started to happen a little bit in San Diego and maybe in Los Angeles County. And I don't know any specifics of it at this point. It was just something that I had overheard from other social workers. And
Well, I think as social workers, we would like to focus on education, prevention, rather than, incarceration.
for sure.
So yes, I'm hoping that we are going into a place where we are routing more funds to community services. And I think we are headed in that direction in a lot of different areas, because hopefully we have learned the last year and a half that we do need to put more funding into community services for
Hmm.
folks, like
For
whether it
sure.
be mental health services, after school services, just anything to help people on the community level. I mean, we need that money so that we're not just arresting people and we're not just putting people in jail. That's a whole other topic. That is
Yeah, it is.
that's a system
But
that,
I can
but
even say too, in like the Long Beach City College system, I can say that we're considering or discussing how can we be of better service to our students who might be having a mental health issue, as opposed to just bringing in the police
Mhm.
to take them out of the classroom or sending them to the office of conduct, type of thing where they get some type of disciplinary action. We're hoping that we can really learn more about how we're spending our money and see how we want to allocate our funds. So I can tell
Uh,
you it's impacting us at our
yeah.
institution,
Yep.
and that much I do know. The specifics of everything else I don't really know, but it seems like some people are going to be heading in that way for
Yeah, I
sure.
mean, I think we're trending in that direction in some areas, and I'm hoping that it continues to go that way where we are routing some of that money. I mean, I used to work for LA County Jail. I used to work for Twin Towers Correctional Facility, which is the largest mental health facility in the country. And it is a
Right.
jail. So what does that tell you? That tells you that we need to be putting more money into mental health services to prevent people from being arrested. Arresting people and throwing them in jail, keeping them in prison is just not the way to spend your
No,
money.
no, it's
And
not.
definitely it's not rehabilitative at all.
No. Not to
Yeah.
mention all the people that it affects who aren't even in the prison, like the kids, the spouse, the family members, the everybody who is affected by that, the
Yep.
community, and then how they're affected after they get out. But anyway, I digress. Please, why
But you're
choose social? We are kind of talking about
we
why choose
are
social work.
talking about it. I mean, social justice is one of our core values in social work. We are all as social workers supposed to be working towards social justice. So this is, I mean, you're mentioning it right now. Like
Mhm.
these are the issues that we are concerned about as social workers. So see, you led us right into this. So social work, we focus on social justice at all levels. We are highly valuable and marketable. So I have to say that I've been working for NASW since 2014, and I go to a lot of conferences. Unfortunately, not in the past year and a half, but I usually go represent NASW at conferences. I set up an exhibit table. I talk to a lot of people, and a lot of people will ask me, how can I find a social worker? How can I hire a social worker? There's really a shortage of social workers.
Oh,
Surprisingly, I mean,
yeah.
we like I said, we're trained when you go to school for social work, you are trained to work directly with people, but you're also trained to work in organizations, in communities, and just at every level. So that kind of education is really valuable to employers because they want your knowledge. They want our knowledge. So you will be very marketable as a MSW, and especially if you get your license as an LCSW. Professionally and personally fulfilling, I would have to say that is true. And for me, because we are so focused on social justice and we do help vulnerable populations, I really feel like my work is fulfilling. And I would have to say that most social workers, I hope, would feel the same. It can be flexible. You can choose what you want to do. I mean, really. So people like the flexibility. I know for a lot of my colleagues who are like in private practice, they can set their own schedule. And it's nice. And for me, I have a few different jobs. I work for NASW full time. I've mentioned my private practice, and I also do teach at Cal State Dominguez Hills as field faculty. So there are just so many opportunities, and you can change settings or populations at any time. I mean, if you get kind of bored, if you feel like, oh, you know what, this is not working for me, I want to go work with older adults. You can go work with older adults. Maybe if you want to try working with students, you can work with students. Another great thing about social work is we have national standards for ethics and credentialing. So for social work, we have a national association that regulates these kind of things. For some of the other clinical disciplines, they don't have a national association. So it's nice that we have that national support umbrella standards. State licensure and portability across states. Still working on that. But that is something that we will be working on for a while. That's a complicated issue, state licensure, but I can tell you that we all across the country, clinical social workers, LCSWs, take one exam. So that is nice. You can carry, so if you move to another state, you've taken that exam already. I've sort of talked about this. Where do we work? We work in, look at all these settings that we work in. We can work in all these kinds of settings. You know, public, nonprofit, for profit, private practice. The most popular one that people think of, child welfare, Department of Children Family Services. Lots of social workers there, but that's not the only place we work in probation, reentry, juvenile justice. Like I said, I used to work in corrections, addictions and recovery, lots of social workers in treatment programs, inpatient and outpatient, schools, community mental health is a really big one. We can be medical social workers, work in other kinds of health settings. There are lots of geriatric settings working with older adults, veterans, military. VA hires a lot of social workers, and a lot of social workers want to work for the VA because of those federal benefits, and it's a great place to work. Of course, policy, like I spoke of, you can work at city, county, state, federal government, foundations if you want to do that kind of work, labor settings if you're interested in union work, you can do that kind of work, legal settings. One of our leaders used to work for a legal aid, one of our leaders at NASW. So I mean, there's just so many different places you can work. You're just valuable in so many different settings. Non-traditional settings, so some social workers will go on and have their own consultation businesses, maybe, have their own corporation, social enterprise. And here's a link for some more facts about social work at the bottom of this.
Perfect.
But I mean, like I said, you can work in so many different settings as a social worker. So these are, do you have any other questions for me right now?
No, I just wanted to say that it's so exciting. What a exciting type of choice to make, I think, personally, with the diversity. And we've definitely had a couple of speakers in our class who have given us real live examples of this, meaning they're LCSWs now, and they tell us the stories of everything that they've done up to this point and sort of the morphing of their career. And it's just so fascinating. I would think that maybe it also helps with the issue of burnout, because if you had to, let's say, stay in DCFS for your entire career, well, and whether you were burnt out or not, that would be terrible. Or you had to, like, leave there and then get thoroughly re-educated so that you could change.
Yeah,
With this, at least if you do get into something that is not a match for you, it doesn't mean that you have to start all over again. And I think that's exciting.
absolutely. And there are people who change positions, gosh, I don't know, when they're in their 50s, 60s. I mean, you can change anytime you want. You can go do different kinds of work just to see if you would like to do that. And I think that's really special about social work. And I love that flexibility. Like for
Mm-hmm.
me, I was working for LA County Department of Mental Health. When I was an intern, so when you are in an MSW program, you do two internships. You do an internship your first year and you do an internship your second year. If you're in a part-time program, you do an internship 2 of those 3 years. But my first year, I worked in Skid Row in downtown Los Angeles. Was very interesting work, worked in supportive housing there. And then I really wanted to be in a different part of the system. So that's when I went into corrections. I interned at Twin Towers Correctional Facility. I was hired there. But even within there, I had different jobs. Like after I graduated, I was hired to do a community reintegration program with some of the clients there. So I would work with them while they were incarcerated, but then they would be released to me and I would work with them for 30 days after. So we would get them, housing, get them into a mental health program, follow up with them for those 30 days. And I also, even in the jail, I did overtime in the reception area. So when people come into the jail, they have to be assessed, have to have a mental health assessment. So I would do that overtime, a
Mm.
couple few days every month or a few nights every month. So even in one setting, you have different opportunities.
Right. Yeah.
And after I did that, I went to an outpatient clinic, which was a lot different than working in a jail. And I've mentioned a few of the things that I do, and I just feel really fortunate that I've been able to select what I want to do, and I've been able to do it.
Yes. Very encouraging. And I think that our students want and need to hear those types of things when they're in this phase. They don't want to, because some of them are straight out saying, I don't know what I want to do. And
Exactly.
the thing is that they really don't have to nail it down 100% right now. And even if they think they nailed it down, there's always room for change later.
I have to tell that to my graduate students every year because they
Mhm.
sometimes get worried. They come into the program and they think, oh, I've always wanted to be a school social worker. And then they go into their internship. They're like, oh, no, I'm not really liking this school social work. I don't think I even want to work with kids anymore. Like, what do
Mhm.
I do? And they get all upset. I said, it's okay. You can try out new things. Even after you graduate, you can constantly try new things because there are jobs in social work. There will always be jobs in our profession. I
Great.
strongly believe that.
Great.
So just some other slides here, just talking more about what we do and the benefits of being a social worker and about the social work profession. So clinical social work practice expands mental health access. So as LCSWs, we can be mental health clinicians. So, having us in the field, larger workforce for mental health access. On the broader level, our macro work, what's called macro work, it builds stronger communities. And then we at NASW have a voice in public policy and social justice. And as social workers, not just part of the National Association, as social workers, we can have a voice in public policy and social justice. More about NASW. We ensure social workers are heard locally. So within our association, we aren't just, a professional association who provides professional services to social workers. We actually advocate. We have legislative lobby days every year in the spring at the California chapter. Our national association is having their national lobby days right now, actually, as we're speaking. So
Mm.
we get social workers involved in that advocacy effort. Of course, we have a director of government relations and political affairs, and she is working all year round on the lobbying effort, writing letters, attending committee hearings, supporting legislation for that would benefit our clients and us as well. So we are an advocacy association as well. We improve individual and family well-being. I've talked a lot about that already. That's our goal, really. Our goal really is to improve society and help everyone function, individuals, communities, strengthen the social fabric, and to create a more just society. It's where that social justice comes in. There is social work in the world. This is an international profession. Here are some of the international associations. And just more about NASW members. We have our members involved in a lot of different things, and it's a good opportunity if you join our association to be involved as a leader. Some numbers about social work growth. These are old numbers, but I can tell you right now that the numbers of social workers still growing. Like I told you, people are always asking me how they can hire social workers. There's always a shortage of social workers. There's a constant shortage of clinical supervisors for those who are seeking their license because we need more LCSWs to supervise the associates who are trying to get that license. So we really encourage, especially me, I really encourage students to go forward and get their license no matter what they want to do. Get your license first and you'll have that because it makes that MSW even more valuable to have that LCSW. Oh, this is just a pitch for my school at Cal State Dominguez Hills because we do have an MSW program there, and that's where I teach. I mean, we do have a lot of wonderful BSW and MSW programs across the state. All of our Cal States are wonderful. Our UCs are wonderful as well. And then we have some private schools, but I would have to say that all of them, I would not say a bad thing about any of the schools because they're all great. And honestly, I don't think we have enough programs. You'd be surprised at how many people, how many people apply. And I don't feel like we have enough programs. But the one thing I can say about the Cal State Dominguez Hills program that I really like is I teach in the 3-year program, and it's more flexible for those students who are working professionals and maybe who have families and jobs to support their families. Like, I mean, it's
Mhm.
hard to think about going to grad school if you are an adult with an adult life, adult issues, adult bills. So our 3-year program is great because classes are on Saturdays and in the evenings. So Wednesday and Thursday evening,
Good
and
to
then
know.
Saturdays. Yeah. So for those working professionals who just can't, quit their job and just go to school full time, it's a great option. So a lot of my students, actually most of my students, have been in like social services, or not even social services, but have just worked all their lives, and they
Mhm.
continue to work and go to school at the same time. So
True.
yeah. And I think that's really great about social work programs is that you can do that. Here is my contact info, and I just want to say that I'm available at any time. Anyone can reach out to me if they ever have questions about social work. I mean, I think you can probably tell that I'm really passionate about social work and being a
Yeah.
social worker. I I I mean, it's sort of a second career for me. I was a writer first, and I took some time to kind of figure out what I wanted to like what do I want to do when I grow up? And so
Mhm.
I did enter my MSW program when I was 30. So, I mean, I wasn't too I wasn't like ancient, but I had worked for years and finally realized that I wanted to go into this. And so I'm glad I did. I think it was really, I have to say it was the best decision I made to go to grad school for social work.
Good, good. Yes. I can see your passion, and that is good. It's really good to see. And occasionally, you have a handful of social workers who burn out, and sometimes people see some really bad examples of social work. And sometimes that's motivating to them because they say, you know what, I had this situation and I feel like I could do better. So some people are motivated by that. Um, the the code of ethics pamphlet, we use that in our law and ethics class, actually.
Oh,
And
good.
we
Yes.
will also do a little bit more introducing of that to people in the intro to social work class. But you really have addressed the key points that we were hoping to get addressed for the intro to social work class. So I really appreciate that. I honestly can't even think of any additional questions. Um, I think I did write down one little note here that I wanted to ask you about. You talked about being field faculty at Cal State Dominguez Hills. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah. So, like I said, when you're in an MSW program, you do have a placement and internship. It's the field practicum. So, you have two different placements that you do. And at that time, you will have like an instructor at your school. And I know at my school at Dominguez Hills, our field faculty, we have seminars where we process with our students. How are things going in your internship?
Yeah.
We talk about pertinent topics that might come up, and we meet weekly and we process, we go through important topics. We really bond as a group. I really enjoy it. So that's what field faculty does. They support you in the academic portion of your field journey, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Students have a field instructor on site at their placement, but me as a field faculty member, I support my students in our seminar in the classroom.
Oh, okay, cool. And one other question that I had is, do you have any recommendations for our students who are at basically most of them getting their AA degree,
Mhm.
so they don't have a bachelor's degree and it might be a while before they do. Do you have any recommendations for them as far as things that they could do between now and then that will make it even easier for them to get into the university or will make them better as social workers by the time they get to that stage?
Sure. I just really think that everyone, not just people going into social work, should get involved in their communities,
Mhm.
whatever that means to them, whether it's, serving on their HOA board or volunteering at a local organization or, I don't know, hosting neighborhood get togethers. Just get involved in your community. I mean, not everyone has time to go out and volunteer and do all that, but just however you can even get involved in your PTA. Just really get out there, know what your community needs, be there as a support in your community. I think that's what I would recommend.
Those are some really good tips. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
welcome.
Just thank you for being here today and for providing your contact information and letting the students know they can get in touch with you. I'm just going to trust that whatever else they might need to know, they now have somebody to go to besides me. And yeah, you're such a valuable asset to our classroom. So thanks again for coming.
Thank you for having me. Good luck, everybody.
Thanks.